Apex Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely Stream Deck. For more information about the Stream Deck, the link is in the description below.
Hello and welcome to Apex Online Racing Season 5 GT3 Split 1, the fastest boys this side of Paul Ricard. I'm joined today, as always, by John Watts. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How about you?
Very good, mate. Very good. New for me, new person in the comms box, so it's all a bit different. So bear with me, guys. We'll try and get together and get to the end all in one piece, but I'll try my best.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting introduction that you'll be having to this league, I think. Paul Ricard, one that can throw up quite a few challenges for the drivers. So you're definitely going to have an interesting inaugural experience, put it that way.
Good, that's what I want. Paul Ricard's always a bit of a tricky one on the circuit, on the roster. Always throws up a few grumbles from people when you say Paul Ricard's up next. I don't know why, but it always has such a reputation for being one of those tracks that causes so many problems with running wide, causing penalties. Drive-throughs might be a massive factor we have to look at this afternoon. I know in the races I've done previous, it's always been something that can really destroy someone's day. But as far as we've got here on the grid, we're probably taking a look at Milanowski, Black Saw Gold, and there was one other I think that we're looking at for the championship. Obviously we've got some other very fast boys in here today. We've got some YouTube personalities as well, I've heard. I don't know if they're taking part today. Again, I need to get to know everyone's names.
Yeah, well, the name you're looking for our other championship contender is Chris Harteveld, who doesn't seem to be here again. He wasn't here last week at the Nürburgring, and that really hurt his championship fight to try to take it towards Malinowski, who had an awful round last week after suffering technical difficulties with hardware. So yeah, it's looking like a bit of a two-horse race at the moment between Malinowski and Black Gold Source. So it's going to be an interesting one to see how that pans out. And yes, in terms of our beloved YouTube personalities, we have Jardier or Mr. Honzig in the number 39 Audi, joined by his Yassi teammate Murphy in the 910 Audi, and we also have Dalking in the number 38 Ferrari. So a few familiar faces that we have seen both outside of this league and as regular participants in the AOR platform in general. So it's we're going to have quite a nice grid of drivers, and already Malinowski showing decent pace and putting a time that is good enough for provisional pole position. So obviously a lot more times to come through, but for now he's doing what he needs to do to try to cement his grasp on getting this championship wrapped up.
So we're on board with Malinowski right now. See what he can do. Let me get a bit of a different view from him. So what kind of times do you reckon? Obviously I'm from a completely different universe as to these guys, being split one. So what are we talking? 52s? Maybe even quicker? It seems hot. The track seems warm. It's sunny. So I would probably hope to see some good 53s, 52s around here. Hopefully we could probably see some of the real speedy boys put down something even faster. What do you think to expect? Because at the moment, what have we got? 54s, I think, are the current fastest laps, but it's very close, so you never know. We might see some people creep into the 53s. Let's have a little look, see if we can get a little bit of information about what's going on the different splits.
Yeah, in terms of lap time, and we've got Malinowski at the moment is the driver teetering on that edge of getting into that 53 window. And I think by the time these guys put together their final attempts, we could definitely be looking at some 53s. I think given the temperatures today, it is very, very hot, as you've already said, and the tyres are probably going to be struggling just a little bit by the time they get to the end of this lap. So I don't think we'll be seeing any sort of 52s under these conditions, but I think maybe high to mid 53s will be what we will come to expect, as Hosseini just has a massive moment through the final sector. Hosseini, definitely a driver that has not had the championship campaign that he would have wanted, nor we would have expected. I think he's a name that everyone is quite familiar with being a fast driver, and he has had a torrid set of results, sitting a very... I'm trying to find him on the championship board. I think he's well outside the top 25 in terms of the current standings, and it has not been the campaign he would have wanted. I think he had a race ban even last week, as he's 35th position, and only scoring one set of championship points 2 rounds ago for him. And I think he was actually in good contention to get a good result at Silverstone before running out of fuel on the final lap. if I recall correctly.
Heartbreaking stuff.
Yeah, it's not by any means the championship we would have been expecting from him, and I'm sure he will be trying to end it on a high. Switching from the Mercedes, I think, was generally the car of choice for himself, and over to the Porsche, given the incredible performance it had at the beginning of the season. A BOP update did slightly neutralise the advantage, but it is definitely across the calendar the car that's most consistently shown fantastic pace. So whether or not that has played a factor in his lack of pace and consistency is something that we might have to take into account. But he has 2 more races to go to try to do something about rectifying that rather lowly position on the leaderboard. And speaking about Porsches and dominance, our top 3 now slightly shuffled around. We had our Essa from last week's winner, who put in an absolutely amazing performance. He was in an absolute league of his own. Admittedly, did take advantage of Malinowski's unfortunate technical difficulties, but once he was away in clean air, that was it, and he was gone. And our second place finisher and first time podium finisher last week, Chorus, right behind him in P2 at the moment. So Malinowski may have his work cut out today if he wants to try to get the win.
Yeah, looks like it's someone else who's got their work cut out. Is Black Gold Saw absolutely sideways through the fast right-handers. I think he's barreled out of this lap, maybe wind himself up for another one. I've heard a lot of things on the grapevine to show that this paint scheme has caused some real rumbles in the jungle. It's upset a few people. I think it's absolutely amazing. I think it's great. Why not? Why would you not want Hello Kitty on the side of your car?
I think it's one of those rather irritating paint schemes where if you're a driver that's being overtaken, you're already frustrated that you're being overtaken. If you're being overtaken by a bright pink Hello Kitty branded Mercedes, it's all the more frustrating. But yes, at the Nürburgring last time, we did see by the end of the race with Black Gold Saw having quite an incident-filled and eventful campaign there. He did unfortunately bin it on the exit of the final chicane when he was looking quite good to maybe get a decent result around the podium sort of finishing positions, and the result of which was a rather battered and bruised looking Hello Kitty. So I'm sure that would have cheered up some folks, and it was not the outcome that he would have wanted. But yes, a mixture of reviews, myself being included, of this rather garish looking paint scheme, in my opinion.
I think it's absolutely great. I've now definitely found someone who I can cheer on from the sidelines. One thing I have noticed, massive Porsche grid. Ferrari's definitely not really having much of a showing. I guess the standout at the moment is that is actually the car that we're with now, the number 70 Black Gold Saw with the AMG Mercedes, well up the grid. Only person I think further down at the moment is Kate. Is it Niles in the 444? He is all the way down in 17th at the moment, but it is quite showing to see round certain tracks, certain cars do have that massive pace advantage, but Porsches just seem to be in a league of their own at the moment, just really right out there in the front, and there's a lot of them. This is almost a field full of Porsches. Talking of Porsches, let's hop on a little bit further up to the top and see if we've got people out on track at the moment. We do. We've got Chorus here, Valentin Chorus in the number 27.
Oh, stunning lap from Black Gold Saw. Sorry to just he's just put himself in P2.
We just missed that
on a 53.9. So and you know we've said that during this season that he's always been one that's put in really surprising performances and extracted pace out of that Mercedes on occasions where, to be quite frank, he really has no business being up in that sort of territory. And I believe he was only 0.009 of a second slower than Essa on that last lap. Essa currently out on a lap, I believe, at the moment, so we shall see if he improves. Yeah, a very actually he's just backed out of that lap and murdered a cone. Yeah, but that is a very, very impressive lap from Black Gold Saw, and you know the Mercedes has extremely good straight line speed, and whether or not down that back straight that opens up some good overtaking opportunities for him in the race. We shall have to wait and see, but once again, another very good qualifying performance from him so far.
Yeah, I guess it does depend on how much wing you've got knocked in or out. Can cause you to get a little bit of a higher top speed going down this back straight. It is massive. You can almost top out the car, can't you? But you go down such a long straight here that by the time you meet the apex of the fast right-hander, your brakes are cold, your tyres are going cold, and it's almost a guessing game to whether the car's going to stick. So you can find out if you've got yourself a good tune on the car or a good setup when you hit that corner, because it could end in tears, and I'm sure we will see some kind of action, especially on lap 1, going through those little section of corners, because normally there's a good couple of cars around each other at that point, and 2 into 1, 3 into 1 definitely in that corner doesn't mix. So what's the safety kind of standard and the driving standards going forward? Obviously it's a split 1, so you would expect that these are the fastest boys out there, but just because they're fast doesn't mean necessarily they always look in their mirrors. I've seen a couple of rumbles as well, also with different crashes and different little bits and pieces coming into effect, and people saying, oh, you know, you've got to be careful on lap 1. So I know that has been called into question so far. So do you think we could have any problems going through the first lap?
Well, it has definitely been a rather incident-prone split, I have to say. Opening laps and general battles on track haven't always remained the cleanest. We have seen some fantastic racing at times, which has been a pleasure to watch, and obviously is what we always wish and hope for. But yes, it's definitely not been the cleanest of races at times. So it's going to be, I imagine it's going to be pretty hectic. And Paul Ricard is one of those circuits where there's not a great deal of overtaking opportunities, but there's a lot of opportunities where cars end up being side by side. Like you say, that back straight, massive slipstream that you can get all the way up it, but then you haven't got a heavy braking zone at the end of it. You've got a very, very fast right-hander that requires so much commitment, and the car really does start to get leery, and these drivers will be pushing the track limits all the way out. You know, we've got those extra boards on the outside of the painted lines, and as long as you're back on the track by the time those boards end, then you won't get a track extension penalty. But it does encourage drivers to really push the limits out of this circuit. So it's definitely going to be one that I think is going to be on the more hectic side. And speaking of the sort of action that we might see of these guys shaking up the front of the pack, saying about Hosseini trying to make a bid to not end the season on a disappointment, and he's put in a 53.7 for the time being. Yeah, really, really good lap from him.
I didn't want to interrupt you when you were telling us about the about all of the incidents that can come to fruition, but yeah, Hosseini popped that in just a couple of minutes ago, and I think he might actually have enough time to put in another lap, as we're on board at the moment with Chorus, who got a brilliant slip from the, I think it was the Audi in front of him, the 910 of Murphy. Murphy came out very well, popped himself up into P9, so that's a reasonably good showing from him. So we'll stay on board with Chorus for now. We've stayed on with him for a little bit, as qualifying technically is over, but you get to finish your lap. So we'll stay on board and see if he can put together something good. If you can stay close enough, 2-3 tenths from the car in front, try not to get him disturb the front area of your car, but at least when you're going down that back straight, it can be absolutely massive. You can save tenths going down that back straight just by having someone to slip off. So I wouldn't be surprised if these boys are somewhat almost working together. I don't really think Mooney can really do much to shake him off. He's already setting his lap times, and he's on his kind of qualification settings that he wants to do. But here we go, Chorus right in that slipstream we were just talking about. He's reeling him in, and he's gaining tenths now, and he's only got, what's that, 300ths from the guys in front, so it's so tight in the top 5 that Chorus is going for the inside here. Oh, well, there you go. Mooney says, actually, you know what? I'm on my qualifying lap. You're not going to annoy it for me. And he wiggles in front of him to say, I think you're going to have to make other arrangements, mate. And this lap is definitely not where you're going to get them in. As there you go, Chorus gets all sorts of wobbly. And I think that's game over for him, unfortunately. For this lap, I don't think he's going to get one. And he's going to have to settle for the second row of the grid. So Chorus, I think he's not going to improve. He's gone slower already. So, wow, there you go. A little bit of drama going on just down the back straight between the two boys. They're separated by a good couple of cars. It's 3rd to 9th. And there's already close battles, and this is just for qualification. So, as you were saying, Hasuni still up in P1 provisional, Essa P2, Chorus, the guy we're on board with right now, in P3, and then Black Gold Saw in the number 70. As Chorus goes off, that's it, that's the end of his session. I think he knows that he's not going to get any more out of that car. Let's see if we can stick on board with some other boys who are out and about. I think a lot of people in the pit. So we got Murphy just coming over to set his time. Did he improve? No, actually, he didn't. He stays where he is, so P10. So there you go, there's your grid. Do you want to run us through?
Yeah, so in amongst all of that, I just want to say that Esther, talking about being close, did an identical lap time to Hosseini, but because he did it afterwards, that means that he lines up in P2. So it will be Hosseini who starts on pole position. Fantastic performance from him, followed by Essa in P2, Chorus in P3, Black Goldsaw in that Hello Kitty Mercedes P4. Our championship leader Malinowski in P5, Luka Vidalik in P6, Jardier P7, Dark in P8, Mooney, previous race winner, but and our only double race winner this season, starting in P9, so he'll have some work to do if he wants to get up the order. Murphy in P10, Vasily in the 56 Lexus, the first of our Lexus runners, in P11. By the looks of it, there is no rain at the moment. Whether or not that changes later on in the race, we shall have to see, but he would have been desperately hoping for some rainy conditions to improve the chances of his race. Babin in P12, Dominic P13, Gerardis P14, Soldatov P15, Greco in the second Ferrari on the field in P16, Niels P17, slightly out of position there, I think. Last time, a rather dramatic race that he had, causing some opening lap carnage, making a dive from, I think, about 8th or 9th position and somehow ending up around 3rd or 4th by the end of turn 1. And I think there may have even been some words about that after the race, because it was a rather ambitious move. But rounding out the final couple of positions, we have Nars in P18, Valentine P19, and Walter Rotundo has just joined the session, so he wasn't able to get a qualifying lap in. But
just popped himself on the grid there, didn't he? Just as everyone settled in. Yeah, right at the back there.
So it's going to be be interesting to see what he can do. So we don't have a representation of what his pace is like around here. In terms of the championship, he's had some decent-ish positions. He's had a couple of top 20 finishes in the last couple of races, but that is our current starting capacity. So whether or not he can improve upon that today and get himself a bit further up the order, we shall have to wait and see. But a very talented field and tightly paced field as well, obviously. So any battles that you have with these guys on track, it's always going to be quite difficult to get past. But that's a very interesting arrangement of the top 5. I think, you know, our 2 championship rivals, P4, P5, and critically, you know, in reverse order of the way they currently sit on the leaderboard, and then a couple of our resurging competitors in the championship of Essa, Chorus, and Hosseini, obviously getting that pole position, really putting in a good bid here. So it'd be interesting to see how this plays out. And you'd have to expect Malinowski's position. He still has a decent points lead over Black Goldsaw. So do you think he's going to play it kind of safely, see how the race goes, keep it clean, just bank in some decent points and make up for that race last week?
I think he has to, yeah. He's got such a good lead. It's, last time I saw it was about 60 points, roughly, lead. Maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, it's 55 points at the moment on the back of the last race.
So all he's got to do is get himself up into that, well, top 4, top 5 to keep that gap reasonably good. What's the point scheme for a win is 100 points, I saw. So, you know, if you have a DNF, say Malinowski spins out, has a DNF or ends up towards the back of the grid, someone else could literally just overturn him in a whole race. So if I was him, I would take it very, very slowly through the first couple of laps, get up to speed, and then start making moves to try and, you know, gain a couple of places, start getting into that top 3 to see if you can get some good points. But we'll start this race, I think, just off the front row with Black Gold Saw. He looked like he was speedy in that Hello Kitty Mercedes, and seems it's a bit of a meme at the moment. We might as well stick with him. I did notice as well on the timing screen over here that someone's in the pit. Is Tinko van der Velde? I don't know if that's... I can't see that anywhere on the timing on the left-hand side there, but it does say it on here. I'm not too sure. It could be wrong, but that would be disastrous. Someone's starting in the pit lane already. Can you imagine? I didn't think you got allocated the pit. Oh, there we go, and we're off already. So formation as we go round. So everyone's going to get some heat or somewhat of heat into these tyres, because as much as you can do, you'll see massive weaving going down that back straight. It seems to always be a pretty tall order to get heat into these tyres. So I'm sure you'll see some crazy shenanigans going off in the first couple of corners, definitely.
Yeah, but interesting thing that I'm looking at, although the weather conditions seem stable, it looks like it's going to, certainly for the next half or the first half of the race, we are going to have sunny skies with just a little bit of cloud, very small wind. But the track temperature is 40 degrees.
It's hot.
Which is very, very hot indeed. So, you know, we've said before that the tyre wear management of these Porsches is not quite on the same level as cars like the Mercedes. Mercedes admittedly does start to suffer mainly with understeer as time goes on, but it's a very, very stable car. Whereas the Porsche, naturally very snappy as soon as you start to lose it. And those rear tyres, you know, rear engine, rear wheel drive, really does start to put a lot of degradation on those rear tyres. And around some of these really fast corners where you have so much commitment in the car, those tyres might start to potentially give way at latter points of the stint, and we've seen it before with the Porsches starting to lose positions and lose a significant amount of pace later on. So whether or not the likes of Black Gold saw Jardier in the Audi, and especially Darking in the Ferrari generally very good at looking after its tyres. So maybe an outright one-lap pace, those guys aren't quite on the same level as these Porsches at the front, but over the course of a race distance, they potentially might have a bit more of a factor to play into this race. And also, just look at Amir, dead straight on this very long back straight. He is not wanting to put any extra heat into these tyres. So to me, that already suggests, and generally on the whole, a lot of these guys not really doing any sort of level of weaving that we would usually expect. So that suggests to me that all of these guys are very concerned about the tyre life that they're going to be experiencing. So
it's all really the Porsches, look, it's all the Porsches. Some other cars are getting some movement. The Porsche of Esser, so here Esser is putting a little bit of heat into the front tyres. But no, you're right. Everyone is being very cautious. But what we've got almost an all Porsche top six, apart from Black Gold Sort with the Hello Kitty. And then obviously you've got Jardier just behind in the Audi, the number 39. So yes, I think you're right. We'll keep an eye on him, see if he can make some moves further up the grid. But do you think it will come later on in the race? I'm assuming there's a tyre change. No refueling?
Yes, so these guys have no refueling, but one mandatory tyre change. So they don't have to try running it all the way to the end on one set of tyres, which really, in a way, partly neutralises the issues that the Porsche naturally has with tyre life, but it is still very much a factor. And I think by the looks of the cautiousness that these guys are approaching this formation lap, I think it's going to be a very big factor indeed, even with that mandatory tyre change. So it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it looks like Milanowski was doing some flashing there at the back of Chorus, telling him pretty much, hurry up, come on, we need to get on the front of this guy, otherwise he's going to run away. What is people's views on excessive use of headlights? Because obviously, if it's for position, what can you do? Oh, here we go, we're rounding the last corner. We should really talk about the race. So let's see who can really lead them away. They slow down slightly to get on the pace. They're all round the last corner. So who do you think is going to make moves? I think Milanowski's going to jump straight in the middle. Let's see them go down. We're almost towards the end as they go under the bridge. And they're off. We're green. Who's moving out first? Let's see. It's the Ferrari of King was pushing. Oh, squeezing there. And we got touching already going down into the first corner. Nice and easy.
Oh, 3 wide.
There's going to be touches. There's going to be smashes. I think we're all good. Nicely done there from the whole field almost. Oh, we've got a spinner there. I think that was the Ferrari of King. It might have been the Porsche of Mooney. Let's have a little look. I think he's managed to gather it up. I think he's all good. Didn't quite. Maybe a half spin. I think we're all good.
Oh, we've got loads of side-by-side action going into that first sector. Jardier trying to make moves on Black Gold Saw. Malinowski up into P3, I think, and has just left Chorus for dead. Black Gold Saw also managing to get past Chorus on the exit, so not an ideal start for him. But our championship leader managing to make up 2 positions on that opening set of corners. It was all pretty tight up front as a lot of these guys going side by side as they run up that back straight now. Will there be any attempts at making an overtake here? The closest gap I can see is Luka Vidalik and Jardier as they're looking to make it 3 wide up towards the right-hander. I'm not sure that's going to be working this early on. It's going to be tight. I think Luka Vidalik might get chorus here, and it looks like he will. So a really bad opening stint.
Milanowski just gets taken.
And Darking making contact with chorus in the background. Darking has been involved in quite a few incidents in the past, but yes, also just ahead, Black Goldsword managing to get that position back and get himself into P3. So it was a fantastic start from Milanowski to start with, but later in the lap, that Hello Kitty Mercedes making moves, and we'll see what sort of raw pace he has in the race as to whether or not he can surmount a challenge for either of those top 2 positions. But yeah, Darking has been one to be involved in a few incidents, I have to say, amongst a lot of these races, and unfortunately just kind of made a bit of an ambitious dive as they ran up towards that right-hander and made contact again.
I think that's Chorus, really, really close there to Murphy. A little bit further back, they're almost going 2 into 1, going into this this first sector here. I think
move, my Murphy.
Yeah, I think Murphy got it done around the outside. Chorus still not letting it go though. Fighting down into turn 4. I think he's going to get the inside here. Sweeping round the outside. Murphy, I think, just keeping it, gets himself the inside line and squeezes him hard there. So Chorus has to go almost on the cutback. I think he's just about kept it on board. We should stay on board with these guys. It's getting a little bit spicy. So Chorus is going to have the drag. This is almost what we were watching earlier, wasn't it? This is almost a repeat. So we're back on board with these boys, fighting it out again. It's like qualifying take 2, I think. So looking like Chorus is going to try and ease down the back straight. Murphy going defensive. I'm assuming we're still working with the same kind of racing etiquette. One move, once you've done that, you're pretty much sold. Unless you're going for the apex to the corner as Chorus gets real close. He makes his presence known into the inside. You can't really do it from this far back, surely. No, he knows a little bit better of it. Nicely held there from Chorus and Murphy. Oh, there was a spinner we saw go past real fast. And there's contact. There's contact.
Valentine.
Was it Valentine going back there?
Yeah, number 72 just had a quite a fantastic 360. Also, Black Goldsword down in P14. What on earth happened to Black Goldsword in that sequence of events?
No,
I'm not sure
he's
if that's
up in,
the other spinner.
No, he's in P3 at the moment.
I don't think he is. I think the leaderboard is actually waiting to update because he is
you're right. You're right.
Very far
he is
down in
well
the pack.
down.
So I'm not sure what happened there.
Maybe
it's
he
getting
got
very
tagged.
tight. Yeah, it's getting very tight and busy in the final corner as well. So always there's contact between Vasily and Gerardis. I think Niels had a tremendous first couple of laps, getting himself up to 10th, but that is disastrous potentially for Black Goldsword. Yeah, down in P14. So I'm not sure exactly what happened to him then that caused that contact, but one other notable mention is that Darking has now made his way up into P4, so he seems to have gained an awful lot of positions in not a great deal of time. So I'm not sure exactly how that came to be, but yeah, that is.
Contact
really
further
big.
down the grid there as Makazowski goes into the back of Anariv. I'm sure I'm pronouncing these names brilliantly. It goes straight into the back of the Lexus there. The Ferrari looking like he's coming off slightly worse. He's lost a couple of tenths now. It's an unfortunate place to hit. Unfortunately, the Constantina there pulled the braking point a good car length back. And Makazowski is now struggling to keep on the back. I think Black Goldsword is just one car behind. And he's right on his bumper here as they're going side by side down the back straight. Soldatov trying to find a space there, but the number 70 Mercedes of Black Gold is pretty much mugged out of position there, and he lets them both go as the Ferrari slides, and he's well off the track there, the Lexus, the 164.
That's definitely a corner cut and a half.
Never mind.
Also goes sweeping on the inside.
They've touched.
Made contact.
That was very silly there, boys.
Disastrous. Neither of them getting collected afterwards, but that is in the opening 6 minutes. Black Goldsword has gone from losing positions to the championship leader, gaining it back, and then finding himself down in P18. That is absolutely disastrous, and I think that was a lunge at desperation. Greco got it all wrong in that number 11 Ferrari on the entry. Black also saw an opportunity, but just didn't seem to account for the line that Soldatov was taking through turn 9, and then the two of them unfortunately making contact. So as he might even be trying to reclaim that position down towards turn 1, right in the slipstream as they head into the braking zone. You'd have to imagine the pace advantage would be in favour of Mercedes, but no, in fact he actually backs out of that. Maybe that Hello Kitty Mercedes being rather battered and bruised again.
You can see the movement on the bonnet there. He's got not a happy Kitty by the looks of things. He's probably all misted up inside that helmet with anger, angst and frustration. He's going to be trying to desperation to try and get that position back. Well, I say that position, he's got another 16 to go to get back to where he was at the beginning of this, so it's pretty much race over for you, unfortunately. But never give up. You never know what can happen. I guess you might be able to make up a few places on pace, but with a damaged car now, I think he might be struggling to get back up the grid with how close these guys are today.
Yeah, I just want to highlight also, look at P1 and P2. Essa staying firmly on the back of Hosseini at the moment. Yeah, the gap that he closed on the back straight through the power back slipstream was really rather tremendous. It'll be interesting to see how close he manages to stay with Amir through the rest of the lap, but definitely still keeping firmly under pressure. And Mr. Consistent, Malinowski, sitting quite happily now, and you know, you'd have to imagine that he is rather delighted about the unfortunate fate of Black Goldsaw at the moment, because you know that is his P2 rival in the championship, currently well out of position and not looking likely to score any sort of level of significant points, and his other rival has not even started this race, so it's looking very good for him. As got Darking and Violet getting a little bit close together heading towards turn 1. Don't think anything's going to quite happen here. Certainly getting quite close in the braking zone as Darking has a bit of oversteer there. Not sure if that's going to open up any opportunities on the exit. Doesn't look like it for now, unless Violet has quite a lunge. No, it looks like he's going to just sit pretty in P5 for the time being. But yeah, Darking definitely made up a lot of positions in that opening couple of laps. I'm not quite sure how that transpired. I'd be fascinated to see his perspective of that, but it does look like in terms of overall pace that Ferrari is perhaps struggling a little bit. I've already seen quite a few corrections through some corners, and it is not the fastest kind of straight line. I think this might be where he loses that position up the back straight. If Violet can close that gap down enough, he's just slowly edging towards it. Almost seems like you're not getting close, and then right at the tail end of this straight, the overspeed that the following car has is rather tremendous. He's having a bit of a look, but he's not quite going to be close enough on this occasion. So Darking will hold that position for now, as Jardier and Babin in the background go quite wide. That would be a track warning for the pair of them, I would think. So yeah, all of these guys definitely pushing the limits and capabilities of all of their cars, and some having a little bit of a messier time than others.
Yeah, we've got people saying in the chat they want to see what's happening in the middle of the pack. Well, unfortunately, if the top end of the pack is really damn close, then we're going to stay with them. We do have some people very close. We got the number 86 Porsche, Gerardis, very close to Anuv.
Sorry to cut you off. Darking and Vidalik going side by side on the exit corner. Vidalik actually got the position, but then went deep into the final corner. Yeah, so Darking now trying to use that better exit speed and
Hardier behind as well.
Outside of T1. Yeah, I don't know if Joe's going to be licking his lips and seeing if there's anything he can get out of this. I think Darking's going to have to lose that position there. Does Jardier get up a good exit out of turn 2? I think he has. Yeah. He's going to have a bit of a sniff up the inside, I think, into this next braking zone, although Babin's having a look at him. So if we're not careful, we're going to have 3 wide between these guys. Jardier does back out of that one, I think, wisely. It was getting all a bit dicey there. And that has allowed the other Yasheet car of Murphy to close up. But onto this next straight, will Jardier be able to make the overtake onto Darking? He's a lot closer than Vidalik was on the last lap at the early portion of this back straight, and he's actually going to have a bit of a double slipstream off Vidalik, but that will also slightly neutralise the advantage as Darking will also be getting a bit of a tow. So whether or not he can close up as they get to his top portion. In actual fact, the Ferrari has a surprising amount of speed, and he might even be looking to make a dive towards Violet. That was
making his presence known. He was, wasn't he?
Filling up all the mirrors of Vidalik there, but not quite close enough to make any sort of move. Giardier right on the bumper as they go through turn 9, I think that is.
Oh, he's got to move.
Actually, might even go to the outside here. Yeah, this is going to be really, really difficult to do if he tries to make this work. Won't be able to carry speed there, but you might be able to get it on the exit. Oh, there's a big tank slapper there, and that will neutralise his advantage. I think Babin actually had to get out of the throttle there, and that's going to leave him susceptible to Murphy. So Murphy now looking around the outside, but he's going to carry the speed to the inside. He's got to be careful on the apex, not make contact with his teammate. Manages to get it checked up nicely, and will actually make a very nice position up there. So the Yas Heat cars now running P6 and 7, so a good showing from those guys.
Yeah, Babin's not taking no for an answer. In the back of the picture there, you can see him on the outside of Murphy. Murphy covers, and it looks like Babin's going to have to try it a little bit later. So Jardius looks like he's going to have to try a little harder to get onto the back of King. That Ferrari must have a reasonable amount of pace going down that back straight, because if you watch Jardier, he catches up him in the braking points. Just seems to reel him in through this midsection. Oh, I just watched Murphy go off in the back there.
That's contact with Babin.
So it was contact as he spun there, just trying to keep the car going. It looks like Babin's come off.
And
then he hits.
Again.
Oh my goodness! So he hits. It looks like that was Gerardis as well, the number 86 Porsche. He's round 2. So that was a complete passenger in that. So Murphy and Babin both causing absolute havoc in the back end of the pack. Let's see what Hardy is doing. If he can manage to get onto the back, I think he's just dipped back slightly. But this is the main race, I think, going on at the moment. Looking back down the pack, we've got a little bit of a gap between P16 and P15. Slight gaps between 9th and 10th, even though that's slightly forced, that gap, I think, between the contact that we just had. Jardier getting a little bit out of shape going through the fast right-hander. Managed to claw it back in, save himself one of those pesky warnings that you have to be very careful. So it's 3 strikes pretty much, and then any more than that, and you get yourself a drive-through, which will be, well, it's pretty much game over when you've got the drive-through, haven't you? You know, it's an extra 30-odd seconds you've got to add on top of your time, and considering how close the field is, it's going to be absolutely massive. So is that, if I'm right in saying, that P17, 18, 19 and 20 have all pitted currently?
I'm just trying to
pretty sure
see. I'm not sure. They've certainly
they've
fallen
got the
very
green
far
tick
back. Yeah, so I think they might have done, which makes sense. Black Gold saw probably wanting to repair the damage on his car, drive in clean air. We know that he's got really good pace, and if he wants to salvage anything from this race, you know, it hasn't gone very well for him so far. Trying to, last lap of 3:01, so that's definitely with a pit stop. But yeah, he's got good pace, and he'll just be wanting to try to drive in clean air for as long as possible. It's going to be a hefty stint to do on those tyres. I imagine that that Hello Kitty is going to be looking rather sad with those front tyres by the end of this race if he tries to make that one work. But
he's got a good old 45 minutes of track time, fast track time as well, and the Mercedes isn't exactly well known for being kind to the rubber, is it, really? Especially the rears. So that'd be quite crazy to see if he can actually keep some life in there. I think it might be a bit of a struggle for him.
Yeah, and also the other Mercedes having a bit of torrid time. I just saw Niles get a bit of a wiggle on some turn. Didn't quite catch where he was in the circuit, but then pulled over and has returned to the pits. So that, by the looks of it, is a DNF for Kevin Niles and the other Mercedes. So that is rather unfortunate.
So I'm assuming he's the teammate. He's teammate of Black Gold, is he? The Niles?
I don't believe so. No. Black Gold saw being an independent driver representing the Hello Kitty AMG racing team, with Kevin Niles representing the Comrade Gaming esports squad, and I think possibly a lone driver for them. So though they are Mercedes compatriots, but they will not be helping each other in the Constructors' Championship, though on the back of this race I don't think either of them will be really getting too many points for that Mercedes car. So that is rather unfortunate for these guys. just looking at the front of the pack, top two drivers have slightly spread apart, and they just over these last few laps does seem to have just been marginally quicker, only 0.06 of a second between them on that last lap, but in favour of Amir. So he's doing what he needs to do at the moment. Malinowski losing a little bit of touch, but still firmly sticking with that battle. As then scrolling down, we've got Darking and Jardier still fighting out very closely between those guys, as Murphy has also come into the pits, I've just noticed. So he will be probably looking to try to repair some of that damage that he suffered during the incident with Babin. Babin's still staying out for the time being, but looking at Jardier now, he does seem to be a bit far away from Darking, I think, to make any sort of move through turn 8. He is closing, but I think it's going to be a little bit too late. Yeah, it will be. But that Ferrari has a seriously impressive amount of straight line speed. It's a car that is fundamentally down on power, but has a very good aero package, making it fantastic high-speed corners. So perhaps just the natural better downforce capabilities of that Ferrari, just allowing Darking to run significantly less wing potentially than a lot of these other guys, and slightly neutralising the deficit that we would generally expect to see with that Ferrari. But yeah, Jardier clearly, I think, the faster car amongst
biding his time, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. He's really just putting Darking under constant pressure, trying to force him to make any errors. And in all these tighter corners, the rotation that Audi has seems to be so much better at the apexes. As our first drive-through has also come through of Valentine, who I think may actually
we were just
he's
watching
pulled
him
over
on
to
board.
the side of the road.
Yeah, he came off the fast right-handers. There was 3 wide. I was just watching it. It got a little bit closely between, I think it was 10th, 11th and 12th. Or he was 12th, but yeah, he's obviously pulled over. Or he's got to drive through. He's in the pits now. Is it that's the end? I think,
do believe I do believe he's retired to the pits and left the server. So our second victim of the race so far, and we're not even a third of the way in. So unfortunately, that will bring our running total down to 18 cars. Jardier does seem to be quite a bit closer than he was on the last lap. He seems to be able to close up that gap through Sector 3 and Sector 1 of this lap. So whether or not he can look to make a bit more of a committed effort on the run up towards Turn 8 this time round, I think he might be able to have a look. Actually, he's closing up significantly as they get towards that corner. Does he look to have look on the outside? It's going to be very tricky doing that. Darking will hold the position on the apex. Does that compromise his exit? I think both of them managed to keep it within track limits. And it is very, very close between them. But Darking will hold on to that position for the time being. But Jardier, I think, definitely the faster car of the pair. But you can just see the clear difference that straight line speed around a circuit like Paul Ricard, when you have those limited overtaking opportunities, can really still be a massive factor in whether or not you're able to make up any positions, even if you're faster overall. And you can really start to struggle to get past some of these cars that are more built for top speed. So I think if Jardier keeps up this level of pressure, he might... Oh, he's in for the pit, so he's going to try and go in for the undercut then. So
that's very early, isn't it? That's early.
Yeah, 40 minutes. I don't think he's really suffering from any sort of form of damage.
I think he's holding him up. He's losing time behind that Ferrari, and he knows it. So I think he's thought, right, I'm not going to have any more time behind this guy. I'm going to come straight in, sort out some fresh tyres, and then see if I can get myself in a little bit of air. But that was the some people asking in the chat, why are we watching this? Oh, well, because they're the closest people on track, buddy. I think that's probably why we're watching this. But we will go out and we will have a look at some other people. Who have we got out on track at the moment who looks like they are getting close?
Gerardis and
Manos Gerardis.
And Dominic, by the looks of it. Yeah, I think that are our current closest battle now, with Jardier having pitted. So we'll see what sort of run Gerardis can get on the back straight. I believe he was already victim to that rejoin from Murphy earlier.
Yeah,
if
the
I
Murphy
recall
Babin
correctly.
little squabble that went on a couple of laps ago. I think, unfortunately, Gerardis caught the rear end of it, as you can see, with the scuffs on the back of his bumper. So these boys still yet to pit. I think we've got pits from everyone down, obviously 13th below, as you can see by the tick on the side, as Gerardis goes right up the inside very early, almost halfway down the straight. So I think the Lexus must have had a really bad drive. He's going to jump up a position. I think he just keeps the nose ahead. As Jolts is how you're saying his name. So Dominic, and he's going very wide. He might even pick up a slight a warning if he doesn't get out the throttle slightly, as Gerardis goes up the inside and he's up into 10th. Good position for him. A little bit of a recovery drive considering his little tap he had earlier on. So he must be in struggle mode, unfortunately, trying to get back up the pack. Who else have we got moving around? The gap between Assini and Essa is slowly coming down, under a second now. Melanowski still in that 2.5, 3 second gap, not really changing much, and then moving back down. We've got the Porsche, the number 29 of Valdic is his name, is it? Luka Valdic?
Vidalik, I think. I'm not entirely sure. A lot of these are generally subject to opinion, really.
Yeah,
But we have had a few key pit stops that have just come in. So Darking, Babin, and Dominic all coming in. So Darking obviously was in that fight with Jardier, and I think he's probably trying to cover off that advantage from Jardier going for the undercut. So it'll be interesting to see where he rejoins.
Find out.
Yeah, see where he rejoins amongst that. And one driver I just wanted to highlight as being, or two drivers really that have been definitely on the move. We've got Niels in the 47 Audi that is now up into P5. I know that's sort of slightly out of position because we have had some pit stops ahead of him, but I'm pretty sure he started down in about 17th position. I did say I was surprised about where he was starting, so he's done very well to get himself up to there. And Vasily in that Lexus as well, at the tail end of this first half of the race, does seem to have a bit more pace in that Lexus than some of the other guys do on the circuit at the moment in that kind of central part of the top 10 region. So it'd be interesting to see, with 37 minutes to go, after that pit stop is made, to see what his overall pace is like, and whether or not he can continue to gain some of these positions and make moves towards that top 5 position.
So whereabouts is King? So has he come in for his pit already? He has, hasn't he? And he's up ahead of Jardier. So Jardier must have been caught out slightly there, because it does show he's got the... There we go, we're seeing it being slightly changed around there. So it looks like he did get a little bit of pace on him. Whereabouts? Oh no, he has jumped him. There we go, we've got a final update of the timing screen. So Hardier significantly jumped him, a good couple of seconds ahead. Look, he's got, 6 seconds on King. So that's how much he was being held up earlier on. We said, why did he pit so early? Well, there's your reason. King was holding him up so much, unless King obviously had a bad pit. But there you go, that's the advantage that it gives you to come into the pit nice and early. Let's hop down with Murphy. I think he is somewhat close with Babin and King. So let's have a little look, see what happens with this battle. I'm sure it will get closer as they come down the end of this straight here. Slight gap, so a half a second. The magical window seems to be roughly about 0.3 as the cold tyres coming into full effect there, as Babin goes absolutely crazy, opposite lock, going through the fast right hand. This is exactly what we were talking about at the beginning of the race, wasn't it? If you're not on the ball when it comes to changing over of tyres.
Murphy in the background as well.
Murphy did the same thing, did he?
Went very wide at turn 9. Yeah, just the corner after. So yeah, absolutely, all of these guys pushing, and yeah, you have to be so careful about the tyres. One thing I did want to highlight is Essa and Hosseini, our top 2 drivers, I think are actually our closest two on the circuit. So at the tail end of this stint, Essa on that last lap, almost 0.3 of a second faster than Hosseini, and has been definitely putting on a bit of a late charge in this first half. There's a yellow flag ahead of them. That is Niles again having a rather unfortunate race, as he now returns to the pits as well, so he won't be
game over for him, isn't
it? Yeah, I think he's perhaps even 2 laps down now. So yeah, definitely not the race that he would have wanted. But yeah, Essa and Hosseini not coming in for their pit stops yet. So by the looks of it, these guys trying to, as Hosseini gets a huge moment, actually opens a door.
Yep, that's
Essa's
it.
going to go flying up the inside, and that will be the change of position. Hosseini obviously struggling with tyres in the latter portion of this stint, and as a consequence, through turn 13, just lost the rear of the car, making a mistake, looking very feisty as they go towards the braking zone, but he won't be able to make any sort of counter move there. But Essa just was biding his time. The through that first 25 minutes, sorry, and eventually just the constant pressure he's been putting Amir on.
Oh, and he
Amir
makes a
another
mistake. Huge
and
mistake.
he's gonna have to slow down significantly
That's
there
gonna
to
cost him
ensure
so
he doesn't
much
get
time. Look at
making sure he doesn't
Milanowski.
get himself a track warning by slowing down, and yeah, that does open up an opportunity for Malinowski, and it does look like the Hosseini's rear tyres. I said earlier whether or not at the tail end of these stints of the rear tyres on these Porsches, would they start to give out? It looks like S has been able to keep better control of them, but Hosseini now really, really struggling, and he's got Malinowski all up his gearbox as they head towards turn 8. Malinowski getting a really good toe, actually, and we'll be looking to make a move up the inside. So our championship leader looking to trying to further extend his championship lead if he can make this position as they head up towards turn 8. Does Hosseini back out of it? I think he's just said, okay, yeah, you have this one. I'm not in a position to fight you right now, and we'll be looking to make
It could be tyres. It could be tyres
in the race.
in
Yeah,
for Hosseini. I reckon
think
that
that's
spin
definitely
has lit up the tyres, and he's got too much heat in them. He can't put the pace down that he wanted to, what he's shown at the beginning of the race, and things are starting to come apart. Unfortunately for the number 92 of Hosseini, I wouldn't be surprised to see him jump straight into the pits here, get himself a fresh set, and go on out. It wouldn't be the wrong time, really. So what would you see strategy-wise? Some of these top boys going longer and getting a nice fresher set towards the end. You've got a lighter car, less fuel. So I would say, oh, there you go, Milanowski coming in, and there you go, Hosseini following him. So there you go, we were right.
Almost actually running into the. He actually knocks over the pit speed limiter sign and almost goes straight into the barrier. So that was very close. But interestingly enough, Estes stays out. So he's obviously feeling very confident and happy with his tyre management at the moment. He's done very well to keep those tyres in such good condition during the length of this race.
So
but
what happened there?
An interesting gimmick.
I thought he ran straight through, but no, he's all good. Stopped perfectly on his mark. Sorry, carry on.
That's right. Yeah, so the pit lane's shaped a little bit weirdly, both on the entry and throughout for the Paul Ricard circuit. So definitely a weird one. But yeah, S has done a very good job at managing his tyres so far. You would imagine that he will come in not too long from now. But an interesting gimmick about the Porsche that we've mentioned a few times throughout this season is that once the fuel starts to drain out of these tanks, obviously these guys not doing any sort of form of refueling. They start on one large heavy tank as Malinowski moves out of his pit box and looks to rejoin. So he'll
got a
be
huge gap on Hosseini. Look, they entered together, and look at the gap he's managed to pull on that pit. So he got stopped on his mark, turned his engine off as quickly as possible. So soon he's left guessing almost. He's going to lose tons of time back.
Oh, Course almost wipes off the nose of his teammate as Vidalik was coming out of the pit lane. Course was coming steaming down the start-finish straight, almost to the front of his car off, but fortunately no contact. But now Chorus, who dropped back very early on in the opening stages of this race, now finds himself actually with warmed up tyres and very close to Amir, who was for a long period of time the man to be at this circuit. But how quickly it can go wrong has been clearly demonstrated here. But yeah, the Porsche, once the fuel starts to empty out, the car just gets more and more snappy as it goes on, and I'm just starting to wonder if maybe the setup that Amir has worked very well in the early phase of the race when he's on heavy fuel, but as the fuel starts to unload and drain from the tank, that with those tyres degrading, the car's just potentially become a little bit too much to handle. And speaking of someone who's been able to handle it perfectly so far is Essa, and he has just come into the pit, so it'll be interesting to see where he comes out relative to Malinowski. It looked like Malinowski got a really good overall pit stop, so Essa can't really afford to make any mistakes here. I didn't see any reshuffling of the 71 Porsche when he arrived in the pit box, so I think he did stop on his mark perfectly there. So that is the first and main thing really that you need to achieve when you make your pit stop, obviously besides not speeding. So as long as he gets a good exit and everything is smooth sailing, as we shall soon find out, as he just leaves now. As we
Malinowski's coming down the straight.
Malinowski, but it's definitely going to be a sufficient gap. Yeah. So Essa has, I think, probably through the battle that Malinowski had with Amir, has extended that overall lead that he has. But overall, I don't think Malinowski is going to be too bothered about that because bear in mind he started in 5th position. His championship rivals are completely out of the question for this race, and he currently finds himself in 2nd position and not completely out of touching distance from that P1 spot. So, I think at the moment he will be completely satisfied if this is the way they were to finish. And, besides the Nürburgring, that's what has put him in such a strong position for this championship that he's looking to claim. Because up until last week when he had hardware difficulties, and bear in mind he qualified on pole position, he had never finished outside of the top 5.
Oh, wow.
And it is that consistency throughout this entire championship that has given him this amazing opportunity to almost look at potentially wrapping up this championship a race early, given the way in which some of these other guys are positioned as it stands at the moment. So I won't look to try to commentate and curse him too much, but he is definitely doing what he needs to do if he is to look to try to win this title. So I'm sure he'll be quite happy with where he is at the moment.
The number 70 Hello Kitty Mercedes, the meme car, has just got himself past Gerardis in the Porsche, so there's no problems there. He's working his way up the grid. I've been keeping a little eye on him. He's been slowly reeling people in who've come out of the pit with the cold tyres on, and he's been slowly making his way up. So he's up into 13th now, and he's now closing in on it's the Yas Heat team of Murphy. Talking about the other Yas Heat, where's Jardia right now? He's up in P6. He seems to be running around on his own, isn't he? But who is a little bit closer? We've got Luca, I think, with Chorus. Getting very, very close. These are teammates, aren't they? Going to run in the same livery. So do you think there'll be any love lost between these guys? They're fighting for really the top end of the grid, 4th and 5th. I reckon they might even come round together. We're halfway through the race now. So, like you said, I think we'll see some of the Porsche problems maybe coming into effect in the next 15-20 minutes. But the main reason, I think, obviously they're rear-wheel drive, aren't they? Fuel tanks over the back. So as soon as you start leaking out of that bit of that fuel, taking a bit of weight off that rear axle, that mechanical grip that's so inherent with this car, it starts to feed away, and you start then losing that weight that you've got over that rear axle, and it can cause all sorts of stability issues, especially if you put your tune in with a high or a low load, so you can really kind of change things around, especially with the race tune. So if you want to be faster in the outer or you want to be faster towards the end, you can kind of tune it into the car. So it's interesting to see who's got the more control, as there you go, the two boys do swap round. Whether that was pre-planned, I don't know, but Luca gets up into 4th position. Didn't seem to be much fighting there. It was almost like, well, you're faster, maybe you should probably go through, and we'll see what happens towards the end. Course has been on those tyres for like 20 minutes. There you go, that's why. So Course has been out for a long old time. So his tyres are going to be pretty much second hand by the time he gets to the end. Who else have we got battling out on track at the moment? I think Gerardis is just losing time to the back of Black
Murphy
Gold.
and Black Goldsaw, I think, is probably the closest fight that we have on circuit since Vidalik has made his way past.
Oh, he's straight onto the back of the Yas Heat car. I did say he was making moves, and I think Gerardis thinks he wants a little bit of fun here. We got 3 together, guys. What's going to happen here? So I think we might see some tears. Hopefully not. Hopefully the boys can keep it all together. To be fair, although we said at the very beginning we might have a few incidents going through this session, there's not really been a lot to scream about in the way of incidents. There's been a couple of knocks here. Obviously, Babin and Gerardis getting a little bit salty together during the first kind of half of this race, but apart from that, we had Black Gold spinning through the fast right-hander. We had someone else was spinning. I don't know who it was who spun right at the very beginning. I think 2nd or 3rd lap. And here we go. Gerardis is getting a good run on the Hello Kitty car. Goes for the inside. Oh, can't quite get it done.
Black Gold brakes extremely late. Actually almost ended up in the gearbox of Murphy ahead of him. But Black Goldsaw, I think, definitely wanting to make moves. This potentially is his last opportunity to try to make sure that Malinowski doesn't just run away with this one, as the second victim of drive-thrus has been awarded Greco in that number 11 Ferrari, as he was battling, I believe, with Dominic just ahead of him. And that is not going to help his race at all, so just pushing the limits just that bit too hard, but you would have to imagine it's all going to get rather dicey as they head up towards turn 8 now. As Black Goldsaw pulling out the slipstream very early, but Gerardis is going to get a monumental turn. We've seen that the Porsches are good a straight line. That Mercedes just doesn't have the pace that we would expect, but Gerardis hasn't really got anywhere to go.
He's
but
almost off the
gonna try
track.
and find a space. He's going to murder a few cones doing that one.
Look at him
He's
go.
so careful not to make any sort of form of contact with Murphy. Backs out of it wisely. Black Gold Sword coming back as they head through turn 8 up the inside. Is he going to hold the position? Murphy going to try and hold it around the outside, trying to stay on the track, and somehow in all of that, no contact was made, and Black Gold Sword does get the position and puts himself up into P11.
Brilliant mature driving there for Black. Brilliant.
Yeah, that was.
driving.
I mean, it was so close for things going wrong, but everyone made sure just to give each other the smallest amount of room that they could get away with, and thankfully, they made it through cleanly. So you'd have to imagine at this point, Black Gold Sword should start to pull away from these guys. Murphy and Gerardis' fight might not be over quite yet, but Black Gold Sword should be able to start pulling away. Whether or not he is able to catch up to the likes of Babin, who is a good few seconds up the road and with less than 25 minutes on the clock, whether or not Black Gold Sword will be able to do anything about that, we shall have to wait and see. But yeah, he'll be hoping to at least try to recover into the top 10 if he can by the end of this race to make up with what must feel like a rather devastating showing in terms of the impact it's going to have on the championship.
I think he's got the bit between his teeth. I think we're going to see him go sailing past Babin, to be honest with you. We've still got 23 minutes. He's only, got 5 odd seconds to get onto the back of him. It's close between Babin King. So I think he would almost go up to Vasily even and see if he can get up close into, 8th, 7th. You never know. I think we will see some moves definitely from the number 70 moving forward. Gerardis right in that slipstream. That Audi has suffered massively on drag by the looks of things. Looks like he's maybe given away a little bit on his tune, and I think it might be just the inherent engine of that Audi. You can see him almost jumping backwards as the Porsche gains on him. So Gerardis on the inside is going to have this one done, I think, nice and easy round the fast right-hander as Murphy unfortunately gets into those that rather off-camber part of that corner, pushes him out wide, and he's lost almost seconds now, falling back from Gerardis. So good stuff from Gerardis. If he can follow Black Gold Sword, you never know, he might be able to follow and run with him and get himself back up through the grid, because he's out of place, isn't he, remember? He should be up, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, so we should see him maybe putting some moves on the grid towards the end of this race. He's in that Porsche, as we were saying before. I know sometimes those tyres can go and then come back towards the end, especially with the Porsche. So we might see, and half an hour really on a set of tyres isn't too bad. So as it gets light, they should still have enough life in them as that fuel starts to drip off. So who else have we got moving really close along the grid? I think King is King and Vasily, isn't it? All running pretty close together. That Ferrari seems like it's almost away at sea, almost between all of the German competitors around him. We don't have any other car companies really, apart from that lone Italian, unfortunately, on his own. He's holding up the flag there, flying it for Maranello.
Yeah, absolutely. And another driver that I think is going to be involved in possibly a rather interesting set of battles very soon is Kors in that number 27 Porsche. Made a pit stop very early, has already lost a huge amount of time to his teammate of Vidalik, and is coming under increasing pressure from Jardier in that number 39 Audi, who will be looking to see if he can get that Audi into the top 5 with 20 minutes to go. And at the pace that he is running at the moment, I would say that is very much possible. Neil's also putting in some decent laps at the moment, so we're going to have a few interesting battles, I think, in just a few laps' time. I think Jardier's going to be onto the back of Chorus, and it does look like Darking has the pace advantage. The yellow flag somewhere only briefly, so I don't think that was too big an incident. But it does look like Darking has the pace advantage over Vasily, and it's looking pretty similar between those guys and Neil's in the number 47 Audi. So whether or not these guys close up for a three-way fight for P7, we shall wait and see. But I think definitely a fight that is going to occur sooner rather than later is for 5th position between Chorus and Jardier on that last lap. A 55.7 for Jardier and a 56.6 for
pulling
Chorus,
in
so
half a second a lap.
of a second.
Yep.
Yeah, that
What's
was
the lap time come down between the last two laps when you were talking there? It was 2 seconds, went down to 2.7. Now we're down to 1.7. Now we're down to 1.3. So he's losing good 3-4 tenths a lap. on the car behind. So we're on board with Jardier now as he goes through this mid-section. It's a really hard section, this, you know. You have to kind of roll it through down into first, tap the brakes and get on the power early. Slight lift as you go through this little pinch. Get on the power as soon as you can. Lovely done there from him. He's pretty speedy round here. Flat as you like, straight as you come down this straight, and he's going to really try and get into that slipstream. I don't think he's going to be close enough this time around, but he's just knocked off 2/10, and he's only halfway around the lap. So that pretty much shapes up either next lap or the lap after. He's going to be right on the back of that Porsche, and that Porsche has got some sorry tyres on it right about now. As I was saying, though, they may come back towards the end. You never know as the weight kind of lifts off, but we'll have to see. I think this is going to be the closest battle that we've got at the moment. We'll stay on board with him.
Yeah, we've got some battles closing up, and another driver on the move is Black Goldsaw trying to close up towards Babin. Babin 56.3 on that last lap. Goldsaw 55.2. Sorry, yeah, so he is definitely looking on track to make his way into the top 10. I don't think, looking at the pace of the likes of Darking, Vasily, and Niels, I don't think he is going to have much of an answer for those guys, but if he makes his way back into the top 10 with the sort of race that he has had so far today, then I think that will at least be some sort of form of commiseration prize. But it does also look like, talking about people struggling, Niels does seem to be just losing a bit of pace in P7 now. A 55.8 on the last lap, 55.4 for Vasily, and a 55.5 for Darking. So the pair of our first lot of non-German manufactured cars of that Lexus and Ferrari, both charging on pretty strong now to try to claim that 7th place position. So we've got a couple of fights which are definitely hotting up in this final stage of the race.
Yep, half the second the gap is now from Jardier and Chorus. He's right on the gearbox now as he's going to get a good run through this corner again, straight into that slipstream. But as we've been saying, the Audi's not that great on the legs, so he might struggle to get up to him, but it's through the twisty bits where he starts to really crawl in that Porsche. It should really be the other way around, to be fair. The Porsche normally is very quick, but there you go, look at that pace difference. You can see massively.
Huge overspeed.
That is huge. So I would say that Chorus got a bad exit there, and Jardier just walks around the outside of him. So he's struggling with that car. Do you reckon that he might have a bit of damage? Let's see if we can have a look around the car. See if we can see if he's struggling with anything. I don't see any visible damage, but that...
I haven't seen him involved in any sort of form of instance. But
that's quite odd, that overspeed, though, wasn't it? It was huge.
Yeah, he has a huge lack of pace. You know, his fastest lap so far is a 55.1, which is a pretty decent sort of pace. His teammate, by comparison, 0.3 faster than that, but crucially is able to do a 54.9 on that last lap, as opposed to lapping in the mid-56s. So I haven't seen him involved in any sort of form of contact. Whether or not there was something that happened, because we don't think we saw when he made his pit stop. We know it was early on, but we didn't see if there were any shenanigans after he came out. So whether or not there is damage on that car, but he is losing time hand over fist at the moment, and the battle of Niels, Vasily, and Darking. Darking dropping a little bit back on that last lap, so it looks like it could be just down to that Lexus and Audi duo at the moment to fight out for that P7 spot. But the pair of these guys, and all three of them really, lapping considerably faster. After being overtaken, a 57.2 on that last lap for Chorus. So the only other alternative that I can possibly think of for Chorus's lack of pace is if the early pit stop that he's made, if he's underfueled the car, made a miscalculation in terms of fuel. Obviously,
possibly
no refueling in this race, but if he's found that he's losing, if he's using up way more fuel than he anticipated, it might be that he's had to switch into a lower engine mode because
Chat called it just as you say it.
Yeah. But also Vasily now looking very aggressive towards Niels. He's going to look to try to pull around the outside. That Lexus had looked mighty in a straight line around the outside turn there. I'm not sure that's going to quite work. No, it's not going to work this time. But he is definitely putting tons of pressure onto that Audi now. Niels has had a fantastic resurgence through the field from starting very, very low on this grid, but it does look like tyre wear at the moment is starting to get the better of him. And with just as he gets a huge slide there through turn 13, sorry, not 13, 11, yeah, a bit too much rotation from that Audi on this occasion. It's a car that is so agile around the apexes, so hence why we've seen Jardio making up so much ground in these tight corners against the likes of the Porsches. Porsches really gain under acceleration and really good traction until those tyres start to suffer. But yeah, last lap for Nils, 56.3, first 56 he has had in a while. I think Vasily lost a bit of time as a result of being slightly held up by him, so I don't think it's going to be too long until he looks to make a move. Also, just keep an eye on Black Golsaw, who's still lapping in the mid-55s. Half a second gain on Babin on that last lap, and is probably set to be our next car to make a move potentially in his lineup. Although
Vasily is all over the back. He's
yeah,
all over the back of Nils. Nils is struggling massively, struggling through the corners.
Just dropped off.
Yeah. So there you go, Vasily almost in the slipstream straight away, peels himself out, and you can see that overspeed that we're talking about here. I think you're right. I think some of these drivers might be having some trouble with fuel. It might be it's time to just click it down one if you don't think you're going to make it to the end. I don't think that's the case here. I think that was just a better drive. That was a better drive there from Vasily as he gets the Lexus around the outside of that very nice looking Audi, actually. It's a good little paint scheme he's got on that one. Just plain red. It looks like a mean machine. So Darren King has now got the work cut out because he's got to get up to the back of Nils, who seems like he's struggling in that Audi. The only other Audi ahead of him is that of Jardio. He looks like a little bit further away from the competition, but in a very competitive 6th. Going back down the grid, like you said, Black Gold Saw is still making moves. As I said, he'll be up onto the back of Babin as quick as you like, and he's already round him, I think. He's got past him.
He's gone past.
Really, really quickly. So there you go.
Drive through for Darking.
Oh, there you go.
Drive through for Darking with only 12 minutes to go on the clock, so any sort of fight that he would have been looking to get involved with to try to get past Nils, well, that's completely neutralised. I would have thought he would have taken the drive-through, and he does.
Straight away.
Takes it straight away, because otherwise he's going to lose time with an unnecessary fight. So that is his race neutralised. That will promote, crucially in terms of the championship, Black Gold Saw up into P9.
At the moment.
As Babin's actually looking very, very feisty to try and come back at him, but I just don't think he's got the pace to match Black Gold Saw at the moment. I
think we forget as well, the track temperature is still nearly 40 degrees, so some of these cars that are very tyre intensive, which should be this Mercedes really, but the Porsches especially, and by the looks of things the Audis are suffering massively. So this high track temperature, the lack of change in the current track conditions might be causing a couple of people who are a little bit more aggressive on their setup, maybe a little bit too much camber in the front or rear, just getting some scrubbing of those tyres, maybe a bit too much toe. It's starting to really peel off that nice effective bit of rubber, and they're starting to really run out of tyres. But one of those people not being affected right now, and really should be considering how early he pulled into the pits, is Black Gold, and he is pretty much running away, getting up into the top 10. Babin's coming back. He is. Yeah, let's hop on board. There you go. Oh, he's got a very dirty car. It looks lovely, though. When you get more than an hour in, all the dirt starts to build up on these cars, as they would do. And very wide from both of them, but they managed to keep it on the track. Babin's still right in that slipstream. Even though we're going through the corners, he's still going to be making up time.
Yeah, very close stuff on that back straight then. So I think Black Gold Saw overall does have much better pace, but just the time that he's been on those tyres for, he's been on them now for 35 minutes, and they are going to be screaming as they go through some of these high-speed corners. Mercedes naturally an understeery car, the Porsche naturally an oversteery car, so who effectively it's going to be a game of chicken of whose tyres are going to give out first and who's going to make a mistake. But I tell you, somebody who is not making any mistakes and is definitely on the move as well is Vasily in that Lexus. 55.8 on that last lap versus a 56.7 of Chorus. So Chorus, another one of our early stoppers, and the tyre wear effects of being on that set of tyres for so long is just exponentially higher than what we're witnessing for Black Gold Saw at the moment. And both the pair of Vasily and Nils making some gains towards him, but Vasily definitely the fastest one of that group. And with 9 minutes to go on the clock, if he maintains this sort of pace towards Chorus, and we've seen Chorus is just is so slow in a straight line,
isn't he?
but that Lexus is, I mean, it's a very large car, but that big burbly V8 is just, you know, it's making up so much ground on this back straight. So I think it's going to be only maybe 2 or 3 laps, which we've easily got enough time for, until he's going to be right on the back of Chorus, and you would just have to imagine that there's not really going to be anything that Chorus can do to defend from that big scary Lexus once it comes by.
I know the Lexus has got a very, well, at least there are some very highly developed tunes out there for the Lexus. I think Coach Dave Academy does a very, very good tune for this car. Brand new, as I think. It was a #1 car, I think, running around in the 9 hours of Paul Ricard that Apex Online Racing did a couple of weeks ago. Lexus seems like a very good and capable car around here, but the Porsches seem to be running away with it, as Essa is pulling away almost. Last time I looked at it, it was about 4 or 5 seconds, maybe even a little bit less than that, but it's almost moved out to 6.5 seconds now. Hassini falling back a little bit more. He's down in P3, and then we've got moving back from him. Is it Luca in P4, and then Jardia not really making much of a dent in that gap. If anything, he's falling away from the guys in front of him. We thought he might be on a little bit of a charge, but it looks like the leader of the Yas Heat team is slowly kind of settling into that pace. It's hard though when you're not behind a car, to kind of manage your pace and keep your pace in a certain kind of window.
Oh, Black Goldsaw, sorry to cut you off. Black Goldsa's just got a drive-through penalty,
isn't he?
With less than 10 minutes to go.
That is
so
tragic.
That is, I mean, I think that practically summarises his day. To be honest, he's just had an absolutely awful race, and I mean, I would have to imagine that perhaps the reason for that drive-through is that those tyres are just giving way, and he's probably running just that bit wider than he normally would, and just trying to keep up the pace and keep Babin behind him. But as a result of that, he will, well, Darking after his drive-through penalty dropped down to 15th, and Darking was ahead on track of Black Goldsaw, so you would have to imagine that Black Goldsaw is going to come out and take that
lets him pass.
From Darking.
Just doesn't ruin Babin's race there, just lets him straight pass. Sorry to interrupt.
No, of course, and it's this is just, I think this really is the nail in the coffin for not only Black Goldsaw's race, but potentially just his entire
championship,
his entire championship campaign. I'm trying to work out whether or not
he's going to come out
with his P2 position will actually seal the championship today or not, because Black Goldsaw is fundamentally going to get next to nothing points, and Malinowski is going to get a very significant amount.
55 ahead at the moment, isn't he? Yeah, have a little look on that, check that out.
Yeah, and I shall see, because we might actually be crowning our champion today, so I shall try to find that information out in these final few minutes. But yeah, absolutely disastrous for Black Goldsaw then, and just really rounding off what has been a horrific day at Paul Ricard for him.
So he's coming out, I think, in between Murphy and King, roughly. Let's have a little look. Is he coming out now? Where's Murphy? Oh, he's going to be ahead of them. Not too bad. Oh, there goes King. King goes straight past. So there you go.
So
did get past him.
Probably expected, but yeah, that is.
So yeah, he's going to get next to no points down in 13th. Or whereabouts is he? 15th, geez, or 14th. The timings are all over for both of us. He's a little bit further down than we think. I think he's 15th at the moment. It hasn't quite changed over just yet. So how many points do you get for 15th? As King gets all sorts of squirrely back steps out, that might give Black Goldsaw a little bit of a sniff at some pace. So that Ferrari might be running out of tyres as we draw to the end. Chorus looks like he's in trouble as well. Let's stay on board. Yep, there you go. Vasily's already got past him. So Vasily continues his charge up the grid. I don't think he's going to have any real opportunity to get up into 5th. And I think Jardia might have that safe. but he's got to watch out now for Niels behind. He's going to be faster than him. He's losing time. So what were the last times we had going over? So 1:57 dead to Niels 1:56.4. So half a second faster on that last lap. So I think we're going to see some more changes in this middle pack. I think we're going to see Chorus, unfortunately, because of the early pit, he's going to fall down even further. Yeah, I think they're probably going to swap round 7th and 8th, but we've got 4 minutes, so that's 2, maybe 3 laps, considering where the leader is right now. How are you getting on with your maths? You got your calculator out yet?
I don't have the calculator out, but from my calculations, if Malinowski does finish in P2, he will be awarded 90 points. Black Goldsaw for 15th will get 30. So that's a 60-point difference offset.
That's too much.
Combined with that 55-point difference, that would give Malinowski a 115-point lead with 1 race to go, which means that even if he scored no points and Black Goldsaw was to win at Suzuka, which is possible, the Mercedes is strong around Suzuka, but on that basis, Malinowski would seal the championship today.
Yep, Heiko's just come into the chat and he said Black Gold needs to finish P10 to actually still have his charge on paper.
In P9.
He was.
And he's thrown it all away.
That
but
drive-through
cost
him the championship. Just 1 drive-through. That could have been 1 tyre.
So he's still trying to make up moves. He's going to go side by side with Darking through that opening sector. I think Darking ran a little bit deep, and Black Goldsaw will make the move. Although we saw from before that the Ferrari was surprisingly quick in a straight line. So whether or not, because he's still very close, he gets all over the curb though, which is not going to help his exit. But whether or not he gets a strong toe up towards turn 8, we shall see. He's a little bit far back at the moment, but Mercedes hasn't been as strong in a straight line as we would ordinarily expect. And Darking is looking very, very feisty, trying to make up a position. Black Ops are actually going to the outside line, interestingly enough, not looking to defend. Darking is going to say thank you very much. Head up towards the inside. They do keep it clean, and Darking will reclaim that position. So I'm surprised that Black also didn't defend that, as he's going to go steam out this time. We saw that go wrong before. That was how the first spin and first bad point of Black Goldsaw's day fell apart, was through turn 9. Fortunately, learned his lesson there, but I think it's all a little bit trivial now from what we have realised in terms of the effect on the championship, and he will be kicking himself.
We're going to crown a champion, aren't we, this afternoon? Malinowski's going to get it done. He's going to get it tied up. I don't think anyone really is going to be able to do anything about it. He's got himself from P5 to P2 on raw pace and a bit of luck, but he's managed to keep himself up there where he needs to be. I think S has done an absolutely fabulous job, really, keeping that gap to Malinowski. He's got his own pace
just
dialed
run
in.
Extremely wide, actually.
Well, he's still 8 seconds. He can run as wide as he wants for a couple of laps. I think it'll absolutely fine. Black Gold all over the back here of King still. So who else have we got on the track? We were looking earlier at Niels and Chorus, still 0.7 away, so still a little bit further afield. We'll watch this because it is a bit spicy as we come down into turn 3 or 4. Here we go, hard on the brakes. I think King really lets him think, well, you can have it, mate. You know, what's a couple of points between friends? That's 14
These
to 15.
guys might just be having fun at this point.
so.
Chorus, I think, has got past. Has got dropped back behind Niels. So yeah, Niels with one and a half laps to go. Has managed to get a position, and Chorus, it's almost been a bit of a long time coming. That Porsche has been losing tons of time in this final stage of the race, and unfortunately, it is just too much. But I think this will be our last lap then. So Essa with a very comfortable lead did lose quite a significant amount of time on that last lap. And the other thing to bear in mind is Amir probably doesn't seem to have given up quite yet on trying to get that P2.
Yeah,
but,
that's what we're focusing on right now.
Yeah, as long as Malinowski keeps a cool head, which he usually does, and manages to keep the rest of his lap clean, then I think he should be able to hold it. I think Amir's just a little bit too far
He's struggling
back.
with tyres. He was all over the place through that little tight section, just losing the traction, and he's just dropped back a little bit now. Dropped out that 1 second window. He can't really get the slipstream in. Looking back, you've got 10 and 11 very close for the last part of this race, but we'll not stay on board with these guys. Have a look, see what 10 and 11 are doing. So that's Gerardis and Dominic in the Lexus. So Gerardis has been doing really good things to get himself back into the top 10. It would be a real shame if he misses out just on these last couple of sectors here. But I think really we should focus on the man of the moment, really. He's done a fabulous job, really calm, clean and collected. Got himself into the position where he needed to maximise his points this afternoon. And I think we're pretty sure now, looking at the maths, that he's gonna collect the championship. So season 5 championship, we're on board with him now as he wiggles his way through the last couple of corners. So Essa gets the win, I think, pretty much as he comes round the last corner, crosses over the line in the next couple of seconds. Great job from him. Really, really good job from him. Managed that gap brilliantly. And here he comes, Malinowski. He knows he's got it done here. Is he going to give us a couple of flashes? Oh, there you go.
Amir's going to
give us a spin just for good measure. So I think that's your champion. That's your season 5 champion right there in the Porsche. Brilliant job from him. Really, really calm, collected, really mature drive from him. He's done a brilliant job to keep himself where he needs to be to maximise his points. Going back then, let's read through the grid. So 4th place after these top 3 finishes, we got Luca, and then Jardia keeping that 5th place from an attacking Vasily. Niels got past Chorus at the end there for P7. P8 then Chorus, unfortunately tyres let him down. Babin doing a good enough job to keep inside the top 10. Gerardis top 10 as well. And then you're moving back, you've got Dominic, and then you've got Constantine in the...
close run to the line, actually.
It was a very close.
Gerardis and Dominic.
So they're just crossing over now. I don't think we've got anyone else who's going to cause any other troubles running across the line. Let's have a look at Black. What's he doing? He's on his own now, isn't he? Unfortunately, that's a sorry run to the line, that, as he knows he's just thrown away the championship because of a drive-through. That must be heartbreaking as he comes across in 14th. That is a real shame. The Ferrari finishes there in P15th. I think we've got a couple more runners just coming through. I think we had some disastrous afternoons there from a couple of them. Kevin Niles was all at sea, I think, unfortunately. Never really got it together. Well, there you go. That was pretty much, it's all wrapped up and done. We've got another race to go yet, so I think it's going to be a bit of a fun race next time. Whereabouts are we? It's a 90-minute race, I think, this next one.
At Suzuka.
Suzuka, well, there you go. So Suzuka always throws up thrills and spills. Do you think Malinowski would like to have a word? I heard these boys are a little bit shy on the comms. You never know. He's a champion now. Do you think he might want to have a little chat? You never know. Yeah,
unfortunately, some of these guys, they haven't really hung about to ever have interviews, really. I'm not sure we've actually been able to get anyone for an interview this entire season. You would hope that on such an occasion that he might stick around for it, but we'll keep an eye out and see if anyone does hop in for ready for an interview. But also, just as an aside, obviously, in terms of the championship, Malinowski, an incredibly consistent season and fantastically done by him in all the races. You know, the only occasion that things went wrong for him was when he had a hardware failure when he was driving in Nürburgring last round. Did
his brake fall off?
I'm not actually sure the exact problem that he suffered with, but it was rather catastrophic. I think it might have actually been a steering related issue, but thankfully he had it all sorted for today and was able to seal the championship. But interestingly enough, you know, with Black Goldsaw not scoring well, Chris not scoring at all, not driving today, in 4th and 5th position in the championship, we have Chorus and Essa. With Essa's win today, and he becomes our 2nd double winner of the season, he will actually leapfrog Black Goldsaw and put himself into P2 in the championship, I believe, and Chorus, I think he finished P6 today, so I'm just trying to work out, so he will get 60 points, and as a result, he is going to creep ahead of Chris Harteveld as well, so Malinowski will maintain his championship position, but it does look like Essa will put himself into P2, and Chorus will put himself into P3, so a lot of shuffling on the back of this race. And Suzuka's going to be an interesting one, like you say, to round off the season. It's a track that I think is quite strong for the Mercedes, so Black Goldsaw might be able to put together one final hurrah to try to challenge for cementing that or reclaiming that P2 position, I would say. But sadly, for him, today's race just went wrong time after time, and by the end of it, with that final drive-through, that was the straw that broke the camel's back and said goodbye to his championship hopes.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. I think next time he can come back and maybe pop in a little bit of a good surprise result. I think it would be good to see if he can come against all the odds he's had to try and fight against this afternoon. He got himself so close to keeping his hopes alive this afternoon, but unfortunately that slight run over that curb that cost him that drive through. Yeah, it can happen to anyone, can't it? It can happen at anywhere, unfortunately, and it looks like it's cost him a real shot at the championship this time. Well, seeing as we're pretty much at the end of this race, I'd like to thank you, John.
Oh, hang on, Malinowski, Mr. Tortellini has put himself in the ready
Has
for
he jumped
interview
in?
box.
Brilliant.
He has.
I'll turn the music off quickly. Back down we go.
We should have one interview.
I think it would be great if we could get him in.
Yeah, fantastic. Let's drag him in when we're ready.
Yeah, go on. Pop him in. I'll drag him down. Hello.
Hello.
Congratulations, buddy. It's the first time I've been able to meet you, and you've shown us an absolute masterclass out on the track. Me and John have been absolutely amazed by how well and calm and collected you kept yourself under pressure, buddy. How does it feel?
I wasn't calm at all.
Well, it didn't look like it. You did a sterling job there, mate. You went from 5th and then finished 2nd and fought to finish 2nd. So very well done. How does it feel?
I'm really happy because I was just able throughout the whole season up until this point, even though we have Suzuka left. I was just able to bang in good results and always deliver, even when I wasn't clearly fastest. But I was always up there, and I'm really happy about it.
Well, it's something special to be able to put yourself in position to fight for championships in the top tiers of the Apex Online. It's really tough, and you obviously pulled it off.
The level of competition is really high, although now at the end we have a bit less people for whatever reason, but it's still super competitive at the very top. I mean, we could see today's qualifying; it was so fucking close at the top. It was just
yeah, it was with Essa and Amir both doing exactly the same time for pole position. Yeah, absolutely, just shows it off perfectly. But I think it's an incredible achievement not only to wrap up the championship one round early, but to manage to do it even with that disastrous hardware failure that you had last time out at the Nürburgring. So the fact that the level of consistency that you've had in all the races where things out of your control didn't go wrong for you, you've put in amazing results, never finishing outside of the top 5. And quite clearly it is paid off in dividends in the final result. So heading in towards Suzuka, how are you feeling? How are you feeling about that track? Do you think you'll be able to round off the season with one final hurrah of victory?
Well, definitely Audi and Mercedes are gonna be dominant on that track for once. Although, some wet races are also not Porsche tracks. So, but Porsche will really struggle at that track, I think. Having said that, I really like the track, and for sure it's gonna be fun racing there. It always is. So yeah, I'm just gonna attend it as every other race for fun and enjoy it as much as I can.
You got the best opportunity to enjoy it now, being you're the current reigning champion. So you can go into this next race with all of the accolades. So that's a brilliant job, mate. Thanks for jumping in and giving us a nice little chat. It's always good to have a little chat with someone. I heard, at least from the person that I've stepped in his shoes this afternoon, that you guys don't normally like to come up and have a little chat. So I'm glad you chose to jump in and have a little chat with us.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
No problem at all, buddy. You did an amazing race today, so it was good to have a little chat. Appreciate it.
Congratulations on just a magnificent season overall, and sealing the championship with one race to go. Fantastic stuff.
GG.
Thank you, guys. So
Right, I'll drop him off there. So what I was just... bless him. I was just about to say thank you very much, Mr. John, for keeping me on the rails there. Obviously, you're very knowledgeable with the grid, and that's where I'm failing. But it was a good afternoon. We managed to see some absolutely insane racing, and I think it's going to be a little bit more of a fun race next time. And hopefully we see a real showing from... I think Black Gold is going to want to make amends, isn't he, coming forward into Suzuka?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, today really was heartbreak for him, and unfortunately, you know, he had a difficult start to the championship in Barcelona, and then the next few rounds after that, he had such a good resurgence of performance and managed to put that Mercedes in positions that it didn't really deserve to be in, and then, you know, ever since Silverstone, really, there's just been these unfortunate. Times where he's been involved in incidents, not always his fault, but in these last couple of races he has been responsible for either contacts or his own mistakes, and unfortunately today really was the summation of all of those things at once. But yes, he will be looking to try to utilize that Mercedes performance and pace that we know that it has at Suzuka to try to put himself back in second place, because although the championship might be wrapped up for P1, we have a very interesting fight on our hands for P2 in the championship between Black Goldsaw and Essa, primarily as our candidates that will be looking to battle that one out on track. Essa with back-to-back victories now, but obviously hearing from Malinowski that the Porsche's pace at Suzuka won't be quite as strong as we've seen at other circuits. So whether or not he can be our one and only three-time winner, we shall have to wait and see. But it's definitely going to be an interesting finale for how this final set of championship standings rounds out.
Yep, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to that Hello Kitty car going hell for leather around Suzuka. It's gonna be something special. Well, seeing as we are all done there, no one else is going to join us in the comms box this afternoon. Again, I'd just like to say thank you for guiding me through like a shepherd to water. I appreciate all of the help. We will end off the stream there. Join us again next week, same time, same place, for the last round of Season 5 of the GT3 Tier 1. We'll be here, as always. Thank you very much again, and we'll see you soon.